then you're like in the middle of a photo shoot and you're like, oh God, none of this is fucking working.
Yeah, you're like, literally, you're just sitting there, lights are there, you're hot as shit. You're like
makeup running down your
dressed.
face, like pasties on, and you're just like, what is happening? What am I doing?
You're like, what is this shit? Why am I doing this? I actually don't want to be sexy Rey Mysterio. What the fuck? So, you know.
Let's be best friends.
Hello, I'm Cole Sauer, and welcome to Let's Be Best Friends, a podcast where I talk to people that I barely know and try and continue my new best friends, because in times like these, who needs enemies? My guest today is a cosplayer, a model, and the owner/producer of Nerdlesque, Maki Roll.
Hello.
How are you? Hello.
Hi. I'm well. I'm existing.
That's the best thing you can hope for, I feel like. Like, we're at the end of the year. Everything that's going to happen in 2021, I feel like, has hopefully happened. So now it's like we just have to coast until whatever 2022 brings us.
Yeah, until, the next, celebrity does something terrible tomorrow.
Until the next world event or great cancellation happens, we just have to exist.
Yeah.
We just have to coast. So welcome to the show. I'm so excited to have you on here. I'm very excited. This is you're our first, as to my knowledge, I believe you're our first official cosplay guest, which is so exciting for me because I've always really liked cosplay. I think cosplay is super sick and like a very cool thing that doesn't get a lot of, doesn't get a lot of love and attention that I feel like it should. So welcome to the show.
Thank you.
I'm very excited.
Thank you. I feel very prestigious and my first cosplayer Monica here. So thank you very much.
No problem. The crown is in the mail. The scepter and the cloak is all going to be shipped to you, courtesy of our people here at Let's Be Best Friends.
Thank you.
So welcome to the show. Here on Let's Be Best Friends, if this is your first time watching home, and of course, Maki, I know this is your first time being on the show, we like to do a little we like to do a little something while we chat, like a little activity while we chat. And so when we were talking, setting this up, I asked what you would want to do. And you mentioned that you were making a Hello Kitty Gundam. Now, what is that?
Oh,
I know those two words separately, but oh my good God.
It is quite literally a Hello Kitty Gundam. I mince no words. It is what I say.
Right.
It is a Hello Kitty Zaku. There are two of them. I also have the red one. We are building the green Zaku today because if anyone knows me, green is kind of my thing.
Okay.
So we're going to be building the green Zaku tonight.
That is okay. So first off, where does one get a Hello Kitty Gundam pack?
First of all, if you can get these,
right.
Because to my knowledge, my red one just got here and I bought that sometime last year.
Oh my God.
So,
okay.
If you happen to find yourself wanting one of these, at this point, I think your best bet is maybe online.
Right.
But I got mine from a comic book store, which I will not name.
Your friendly local comic book store or your unfriendly local comic book store, depending on your relationship to said store. So let's start here then. We have a little cosplaying Hello Kitty now that we're gonna build. What got you into cosplay originally? Was it just like something you saw other people doing, or was it just you were really big into like anime and wanted to get into that community, or what kind of got you started?
So when I was a wee gremlin in high school, I was the founder of my high school's anime club.
Nice.
And through that, I learned that there were these conventions, and at these conventions, there were people who dressed up, and it was just basically just a 3-day thing that was dedicated to all the things that I really, really enjoyed. So I kind of just begged my mom, and I was like, Mom, can we please go to this thing? I really want to go to this thing.
Yeah.
And also, can you help me sew this Inuyasha costume?
Nice.
And my mom, she knew that I was really weird, to say the very least. And she had been familiar with taking me to weird events. She had taken me to Warped Tour, things like that before.
Nice.
So she helped me sew my first costume, which was Inuyasha. I got a very terrible wig from Party City, a plastic sword, and I was like, this is amazing.
Yeah.
I can't wait to go. So she takes me and a friend. We only went that Sunday, but from there, I was hooked. I enjoyed just being around people that shared my same hobbies. I really enjoyed cosplay and seeing people dressed up. And this was like before there was like Warblow and like 3D printing. So this was like people's blood, sweat, and tears dripped into like cardboard armor. And I was just like, this is amazing. And I want to do more of this. And here I am still doing it.
Back in the good old days. It's funny when you mentioned 3D printing, because I didn't think about it, but even back in the day, like you say, it was a lot of like, everything was PVC pipe and foam and cardboard and like duct tape, and that's it. And everyone just had to figure shit out. But now you can just hire a nerd to print something out for, 3 days, and now you have a sword.
Yeah. Or like even all of the YouTube stuff that you have now, and like the tutorials. It's TikTok. You can learn to build armor on TikTok. Like, I sound like a grandma right now, but like that is a thing that you can do. And like 2 minutes or less, you can learn how to build a pauldron, where back in my day, you had to scour threads to figure out things.
You had to be like a forum board gremlin to learn how to make a keyblade. Like, you had to be. And everyone had their own different version of, oh, this is how I make the handle of the keyblade, and this person is wrong.
Oh my gosh. Yes.
Oh, so were you Inuyasha, like from Inuyasha? Like, were you the character Inuyasha, or were you like, oh hell yeah, fuck yes?
Yeah. I was like, I
real OGs
want
now
to be this broody, angry boy, because I relate to him so much in my angst. And yeah, I was Inuyasha.
Fuck yes.
It was wonderful.
Walk around the convention hall just screaming Kagome at random people and have a fucking blast.
I'm not a character cosplayer, and there have been people who have given me shite for not being a character cosplayer.
Really?
Yes. But yeah, I'm kind of just a person who likes to be in a costume and feel the vibes. I really enjoyed going to the cosplay meetups that they would just do for like various series. I actually saw one of my friends, who is still one of my good friends to this day, get proposed to at a cosplay meetup.
That's so sweet.
So I'm not much of a character person. I just liked to feel the vibes.
Yeah.
And I still do. I still just like to be in a costume and be admired.
You just want to be in a costume on a stage doing something, whatever that ends up being.
Precisely.
Yeah. So it's interesting. You see, you got a lot of shit from people about not being a character cosplayer. Like, so is that a big like kind of topic in cosplay circles? Like, is there a divide of people who just kind of like doing their own thing and kind of figuring their own shit out, and the people who are like, no, like you must be, a fucking World of Warcraft character. You're not allowed here.
There are definitely levels to the weird pseudo elitism of cosplay.
Right.
Because there are the people who are, accuracy purists, and they're like, you have to look exactly like your anime waifu, and you have to have the contacts, and your hair must be 6 feet tall, and
the drills must be immaculate.
Yeah, and your scenes must be finished.
Right.
So there are people like that, and and then there are people who just go with the flow, and they do put their own spin on cosplay. The Black cosplay community is known for putting spins on specifically hair in cosplay. And so in that aspect, I would say starting out, I was kind of an accuracy person, but not really, because I was a procrastinator, and I would get down to the wire. Yeah, and I would be like, you know what? Hot glue that on. You know, it's okay.
We'll figure it out later.
Safety pinned it to my body. It's okay. Yeah. And then by the end of the show, it's like falling off. It's fine. It's fine. It looked good for the pictures.
That's what matters. That's what people forget.
So there are definitely layers to that, because there's the, what makes a cosplayer? Do you have to craft everything, or can you buy things? And what does the masquerade mean to cosplay anymore? So there's so much that is kind of meld into this fantasy world where we all play dress up.
It's funny because I feel like a lot of people don't think about it, but like I think people think of their own communities as these like very insular, very specific communities, and like they're the weirdest ones, right? But then you start learning about like how cosplay fans and wrestling fans and football fans, like they're all the same at the end of the day.
Man. So one of the things, and it's really funny that you should say that, because one of the things that I say in my Nerdless 101 workshop is that Nerdless is essentially cosplay and wrestling. Sexy cosplay and wrestling combined, because a lot of these niche hobby communities, they are the same. You have the people who are the purists, you have douchebags, you have trolls, you have the can't we just get along kumbaya people, and you have the people who are just like somewhere in the middle, right? And I feel as though I've always been somewhere in the middle of losing my mind, that no one appreciates the whatever the freak I'm doing, paired with, I mean, when you think about it, we're just, in costumes. Yeah. And this is what we do to find joy. Yeah. And some people understand it, and some people, make fun of it. So that has been a personal journey of mine, reckoning with those two halves. And I'm a Gemini. It's the worst.
Yeah. Yeah. So now you're not only are you dealing with those two halves, but you're dealing with the two halves of each two half. What a disaster. Yeah. What an absolute disaster.
It's like that Rick and Morty episode where you like splits them into like all of the dimensions because they're uncertain. Yeah. That's me all the time.
I am Rick and Morty. Yeah. In the middle of this show, we're just going to both turn into pickles. It'll be the funniest shit anyone's ever seen. Yeah. So how did Nerdlesque? So first, talk about Nerdlesque. So what is it for the people at home who haven't seen it on the internet or been around it before?
Yes. So first, just a little precursor on burlesque. Burlesque is the kind of the vaudevillian entertainment of the 17th, 18th, one of them centuries before ours.
A long ass time ago.
A long time ago. there was entertainment for the lowbrow people who couldn't afford the upscale entertainment of I don't know, whoever was famous and popping then.
Opera,
so,
I assume?
Maybe. So you had burlesque, and burlesque originally did not really involve the removal of clothing. It was kind of it was more of like a mockery of the elite.
Okay.
And so you had circus arts, you had sideshow performances, you had men dressed and women as women doing very body things, and vice versa. And so that kind of evolved into burlesque that we know now, which is the reclamation of burlesque and of this sexual expression, and it has kind of evolved into its own subsets. And one of those subsets is nerdlesque, and nerdlesque is basically what it sounds like. It is burlesque mixed with nerdiness. So any pop culture concept, any pop culture series, character, anything that you basically can tell a story with your body with, that is what nerdlesque is.
Right. And so each individual performance would be like a different story. It's almost like you're acting with cosplay, kind of like.
Yeah. It's like I call it, your erotic fan fiction come to life, essentially.
That's such a good pitch.
Yeah. So it is, but I mean, it doesn't always have to be that necessarily. It is finding another way, a more, I would say, adult way to tell a story of a character. And it's very interesting. It's something that I fell into through cosplay. So everything that I do now kind of started with cosplay. And through that, as I said, I found burlesque, and then through burlesque I found that there was nerdlesque, and I was like, you mean that I can combine my exhibitionism with cosplay? And then somebody gave me money at the end of one of my shows, and I was like, and you can get paid. It was like $50, but I was just like, and you can
That's a lot. That's a lot. In the independent art space, $50 is a lot.
Especially when you ain't know you was getting money.
Yeah, exactly.
I was like, hold up here. So I kind of I feel everything in my creative journey. I stumbled into performing more, and then I stumbled into producing more. Because I wanted to see more nerdlesque in DC. I wanted to see more, I wanted to see different bodies doing nerdlesque. I wanted to see different people doing different things with nerdlesque. And so I started producing. One of my first shows, or my first show ever, was Bump and Grimes, a burlesque tribute to The Walking Dead.
Nice.
And it was at Phantom Comics in DC. Shout out to Phantom Comics. And it was just a small, just very intimate affair. And my husband and I, we built a stage. We went and invested in a mixer for like sound equipment, and it was very much one of the first things that I kind of felt empowered to do more with in an art space, because up until that point with cosplay, I was doing it as a hobby. I was doing it as a way to connect to people, as a way to make friends. And through that, I I discovered that I could do other stuff and that I could expand my cosplay and performance art and everything, really.
So yeah, so I mean I love the fact that you started doing it and then you were like, okay, I want to see more of this. Like I like you took it into me. You were like, I need more of this. I want more people to be doing it. I want it to be a bigger thing. Like, what was like? So you kind of stumbled into the Nerdlesque thing, and then what was there something about it specifically that got you more into that aspect than like the more I guess we call it like the more traditional like cosplay route?
Yes. So I've always been, sort of a sexual person. I've always been someone who has liked to express themselves sexually, who has felt empowered through that kind of expression. And when I discovered that I could actually marry those two things, why not? I decided, very early on, why not try, why not do this thing, and just see where it goes. A lot of what I've done creatively has been me saying, let's see where it goes.
Yeah.
Or, let's see where this takes me. And so with burlesque and nerdlesque, and honestly how nerdlesque regards cosplay and burlesque for me, it is that intersection of nerdiness and sexual expression for me, that kind of made it that sweet spot. Whereas with traditional burlesque, even there's that pageantry, and there's the feathered fans, and there's the like vava voom, and that's not
voom.
Yeah. I appreciate that so much.
Yeah.
But at the same time, I knew very early on that, that wasn't me. It wasn't necessarily what I wanted my burlesque journey to be. And so with Nerdlesque, it was always like, how can I do more with this? How can I expand on this? How can I like further bring the things that I love together and merge those things closer?
So I want to circle back a little bit. You were talking about how the Black cosplay community in specific gets gets targeted a lot for having to put their own spin on characters. Have you had a lot of experience in that, or is there because I know it's been more of a more public, well-known topic in the last couple of years of people kind of coming out and being like, I'm bi POC person, like I'm just trying to do the thing that I like doing. Can you please leave me the fuck alone?
Yeah, I was kind of in the trenches of like when people weren't talking about it so much. I started cosplaying in 2000, let's be generous here, 2007. and there weren't really a lot of Black cosplayers. There was one thread, as we were saying before, there was, cosplay.com, and there was one thread on cosplay.com for Black cosplayers. And so very early on, I would experience microaggressions. I had an all white group of cosplay friends, and I would be, I would get like who was last in like a cosplay group that we would do. Or I would, even when we would be at cons, everybody would be invited to take pictures and I wouldn't. Aww. And it was stuff like that I would experience. And I would write about it, I would talk about it online. And, I had a cosplay page, and one of my cosplays that kind of went viral, my Senketsu Fashion Week, that was when I started, talking to, some of the bigger name cosplayers and like seeing them kind of like commenting on my work. But I was also seeing the divide in like how little Black cosplayers were being recognized,
Right.
you know, at the time, at, I would say, the height of me doing cosplay, I was one of the only Black cosplayers that was being invited to cons. And that was largely because of the fact that I knew these bigger, you know, cosplayers who weren't Black. And you know, I would talk about that, and I would just talk about the way that Black cosplayers were treated. And I would, you know, I would get backlash from that. You know, I would get told, you know, oh, you're a cosplayer. Like, I liked you better when you were just cosplaying.
Yeah.
And, you know, but you would
Don't
also
get political and all that kind of stuff.
Yeah. But you would also get the people who would say things like, oh, don't let it get to you. You know, you're great anyway, and this, that, and the other. And that's well-intentioned. But, you know, it's very isolating to have these experiences and not talk about them and not feel like there's a space for you to talk about them. So one of the things that I think is amazing about where the cosplay community is now is that for all of its faults, because there are still faults there, not get me wrong. Every 2 months we have to explain blackfacing, blackfishing. That aside, the fact that we have that space to call attention to this stuff and to, you know, even make a little bit of an impact in regards to speaking to our experiences and even getting more eyes on our experiences, and in turn leveraging that and to get more opportunities. And it sucks that is a thing that you use as a leveraging tool, you know, oppression and trauma, what have you. However, you know, you as a Black person, as a Black creative, as a Black nerd, as a Black cosplayer, you do have to find, you know, your ends, you know, whether you're kicking the door in yourself or you're finding the cracks where you can, you know, put your foot in and then like leave it open a little bit for everybody else. So, yes, I've experienced to make that shorter. Yes, I've experienced those things. Less so now as I kind of do less cosplay, but I do see that it happens. It still happens, and there's more of a discussion, and there's more. There are more Black cosplayers who are saying, you know, this is fucked up, and you know, there are more Black cosplayers who are combating it in creative ways. You know, TikTok and fucking TikTok. But you know, creating TikToks and you know, just really you know, creating kind of like movements and days, you know, Black Fae Day, and I forget the TikToker, but the TikToker who did, you know, the Hinata gonna be Black today. It's like
I remember
that. It's like that kind of stuff. Can only evolve through empowerment and feeling more comfortable in the space. And I'm glad that the cosplay community is where it is now, but there's still so much to go.
There's always more work to do. There's always going to be some dude who looks like me who comes out and goes like, actually, Aang can't be Black and then they list a whole bunch of reasons that don't make any sense.
Yeah, and sometimes they don't look like you either. So, you know.
So would you say that because so I think TikTok is a good example of this, but the fact that there's so many more platforms opening up that people can just make communities on, do you think that's like one of the reasons that it's become more widely talked about and more widely known, and there's more people who are working towards the idea of like, hey, we need to get, you know, more eyes on these problems or these people, or just get bigger platforms?
Yes, I do. I think it is the ease of information spreading. I think it is the ease of finding your community and finding your people. Because there are so many apps in which you can do that, and so many ways in which you can do that. So there are just more ways to have conversations. And with that, you get different types of conversations from different communities. And is it all entirely productive? It's not.
No. We've all been on Twitter.
Yeah. There are times, and this is throughout all niche communities, where there's just going to be chaos and fighting and people not getting along. But one of the things that having these resources does, it allows people, it does allow those people who do want to be the change and who do want to, do meaningful work. It allows those people to do that work and to be seen. And is this the wrong thing? That's the wrong thing. So it allows them to be seen. It allows them to continue to do the work, and it allows people to keep seeing them and keep, eyes on them and keep the conversations going. One of the good examples of this, and it's not cosplay, but it does involve, a Black creative community, is the Twitch Do Better movement that was started by Wreck-It Raven. It had that, it's the fact that, she persisted and it shouldn't always be on us to, keep our feet on the necks of people who are committed to not understanding us, but it's the fact that they kept on pushing and they kept on demanding. That is why there shit happens. and I do think that having access to these resources and having access to more platforms does ultimately help, even if it hurts.
It's a bit of a double-edged sword, right? Because like you say, there's more resources, there's more eyes on things, but on the opposite end, there's more eyes on things, right? So you're gonna get the bad faith actors, you're gonna get the people who don't actually give a shit, they just want to argue with people on the internet for some reason.
Yeah, so you kind of have to, you have to have discernment when you're seeking out your community on the interwebs.
And I think part of that comes with time too, right? Because I feel like when we're young, like even you were saying, you got into it sounds like kind of a shitty group of friends in cosplay. And I feel like everyone, or the majority of people's first like internet friend group, eventually someone like says something or does something and you're like, oh shit, these might not be good people. Like, oh, I might have made a mistake. And even that happens, even when you're not young, even as you grow older. And I don't know, that's another thing, because I don't know, that is weird about the internet and about being friends and like doing things in a community, is that the communities are very small. The internet is very vast, but information spreads. So I don't know. Do you ever miss the old forum board days? Because I feel like for as much as I love that everyone is so connected and everyone has these chances to grow and see more things, there are times where I'm like, I wish we could just go back to like, I just want to be on a random wrestling forum board where no one knows who each other are and we can just yell at each other. Like there's no.
Yes and no. Yes and no. Yes, for the fact that it was a lot easier to catfish dudes and get money from them. Which came in very, very handy when you were, look, we're being honest here.
Yeah.
Which came in very, very handy when, you're like a teenager and you're trying to like build, and you're like, I don't have money for an Xbox, but you know who does? This girl who isn't me.
Yeah.
So, you know, but besides that, just the very like innocence almost in a way. And granted, not everything was innocent on the internet
No.
in the early 2000s.
It felt
But
like it though, you know? Like an aura of it, right?
Yeah, like coming together and like discovering like a group of people, or discovering a forum, or like coming back to threads and just like reading through them.
Yeah.
That kind of stuff I miss, but I'm also happy with where we are now.
Yeah, it's worth it for sure. But there's sometimes, especially when it comes to like Twitter or even like Reddit boards, where I'm like, man, I miss when everyone was on their own corner of the internet and we didn't interact. Like,
yeah,
everyone was in their own little camps and everyone did their own thing.
Yeah. Not anymore.
Speaking of platforms, I want to talk to you a little bit about OnlyFans, because I feel like OnlyFans is a very hot button issue, right? And it blew up, I'm going to say like a couple years ago, or maybe a year ago. Time doesn't make any sense anymore. But I want to talk to you about your experiences in it, because I feel like there's a lot of people who have, you know, certain perceptions about OnlyFans. And I, of course, here, Honestly Best Friends, we advocate securing a bag, however you secure your bag. But so what got you on the platform? What's been kind of your experiences in it? Was it that big explosion? Kind of how did that affect you and your kind of community?
Yeah. So OnlyFans, as I said, quite literally, is another thing that I didn't really stumble into it. This is kind of a thing I actually did research on and like intentionally thought of before I made a venture into it.
Mm-hmm.
But it's not my first experience with kind of like a paywall, like subscription-based service.
Mm-hmm.
And with OnlyFans, as I said, you know, I've always enjoyed sexual expression.
Mm-hmm.
Which is why I enjoy sex work. I enjoy doing sex work.
Mm-hmm.
And OnlyFans was, I had been selling just photo sets and stuff like that. And people, you know, I'd have people ask me, you know, why don't you get on OnlyFans? It's so much easier if you do this through OnlyFans. OnlyFans. And I was like, you know, what is OnlyFans? And that's another thing that I have to maintain. And like, I'm, you know, barely there as it is. And but I had a few friends who were on OnlyFans and were really successful on OnlyFans. And so they kind of gave me a crash course on essentially what it was. And they were just like, hey, I mean, it's like a paid Facebook, because I had been on Patreon before.
Right.
And I had a really poor experience with Patreon, which also had to do with, you know, having, you know, not great boundaries with myself doing sex work. And so for me, I had been hesitant to get back on a subscription-based service. And once my friends kind of like broke it down and were like, it's like, you know, it's like a paid Facebook for like your super fans who want to see you do super freaky things. And I was just like,
I'm about it. I like that.
I was like, you son of a bitch. I'm in. And so, yeah, I started my OnlyFans, I would say either at the end of last December or this past January.
Okay.
And yeah, it was just, you know, it was a thing. And for me, one of the things I really enjoy about sex work and about sexual connection and sexual performance is being able to connect with people in that way, and being able to make people feel something different, or feel, safe and being excited by, their own sexuality or someone else's sexuality. And so for OnlyFans, for me, it was an opportunity to kind of curate another space,
right?
That was different, that kind of allowed me to explore something that I had wanted to explore, but was kind of afraid to explore, which was just solo performance and, like solo scening and things like that.
Right.
So having OnlyFans allowed me the opportunity to do that in what I felt was kind of like a safe environment. Obviously, we know that, there are people who are shitty, who will take content, XYZ. But the community itself, it gave me an opportunity, like I said, to curate this really fun community that is like weird and like gross and disgusting and like really lovable. And but they're people and they're humans, and they're a part of my group of people. And OnlyFans has been the community building aspect of OnlyFans has been great. Being able to be exposed to other creators and other sex workers and being able to learn from them has been great. The platform OnlyFans is shit and does not support sex workers.
True.
And they're awful. So I encourage people, if you do enjoy sex workers, erotic artists, pay them directly. Even if you do sub to them through subscription services, pay us directly, because we create an experience and we create a fantasy and a world for you to feel safe and held and affirmed in your sexual desires. So I think we deserve, at the very least, money, because we don't get anything else.
Yeah. So you said you did a lot of research into OnlyFans. What was, so it's been about a year-ish,
yes,
right? Was there at any point during the year that you've been on OnlyFans that you've been thought about going? You said you had a bad experience with Patreon, but like even doing something like a Ko-fi or something along those lines, it's more like a direct model rather than the like very structured thing of OnlyFans.
So with subscription services, most subscription services are not adult work friendly, and that also includes things like coffee. It also includes Patreon, even though there are ways to get around it. And so being on something like an OnlyFans, or like All My Fans or All My Links and Fansly, those things are sort of marketed to be safer for sex workers and for sexual content. And that marketing, and this is OnlyFans specific, because I believe Fansly, since OnlyFans decided to massively shit the bed, Fansly decided to step up and claim sex workers. But a lot of these platforms are made popular by sex workers and by the people who push content to them. And that's the same with Snapchat. It's the same with Tumblr. Sex workers are some of the biggest and best influencers. And so with OnlyFans, I felt like I could do the content that I wanted. I felt like it was a better space for me to kind of experiment and to drop, things that I wouldn't put anywhere else.
Right.
And it's the only subscription service that I have currently that I keep up with. And for me, that was enough. And because there's also doing Twitch, and there's also there's so much to do. So with OnlyFans, I wanted to make sure that it was something that I could do and that I could sustain. And it was also kind of reaching out to people and asking, how do you hold fast to your boundaries, and how do you kind of keep your wall up, and how do you not allow yourself to like fall whole to doing content you don't want to do,
right.
and doing stuff like that. So a year in, I am actively in the process of switching to Fansly.
Nice.
But that's again because OnlyFans sucks.
Yeah.
Yes.
It's one of those things I think that people who don't create content, or who don't do that line of work will never understand the concept of like maintaining one social platform and trying to grow it is so much work. Like whether it's OnlyFans or even just trying to be like an Instagram influencer or YouTuber or Twitch streamer or whatever, like doing one of those things is so much work. So then when you have people come to you and be like, you should do, like you say, you should stream on Twitch, you should go on, you should make YouTube videos, you should whatever. It's like, dude, I don't have this many hours. Pay me more. Like, who's bankrolling this?
Yeah.
I have bills to pay. Like, it's true. It's something people don't think about,
Yeah, and so you go with the most lucrative one, and the higher you get up and doing stuff like that, then you can pay people to manage your different accounts and stuff like that. But for me, I'm one gremlin with severe ADHD, and it is a process. And even when OnlyFans made that announcement in, I believe, October, that they were taking away sexual content, but not really. There were people who immediately made the jump from OnlyFans to Fansly or whatever their platform was of choice.
Yeah.
And I obviously, here I am still on OnlyFans, and it's not because I want to be. It's because, like you said, it is hard.
Yeah.
And it's a process. Even if you do want it, even if you want it so bad, it is really, really hard. And it's hard doing it yourself. I was on the couch for pretty much up until we were doing this, editing a 15-minute video.
Yeah.
And that's the kind of stuff where it's like people see, Twitch payouts and people see stuff like that.
Yeah.
But unless you are making big money consistently, that's just, going back into the machine or like supplementing some kind of bill or something like that. So like it's a really big investment to do this and to do it full-time or even part-time.
Yeah. Well, it's the thing that people, the Twitch is a great example of this because there was that the big earnings leak that happened. And it always happens, right? Where something like this comes out, or when the OnlyFans, when people started finding out like, oh, these OnlyFans girls make like XYZ, oh, I should do OnlyFans. And it's funny because it's always like, cool, like do it.
Yeah.
Have at it. Like spend all your free time and all of your, energy and money on maybe hopefully doing this and being successful at it. Good luck, have fun. Like that, like people don't think about the fact that like you can look at the top, like whatever, 100 Twitch streamers and they're all millionaires. But also you look at it and it's like, yeah, well, they stream, 80 hours a week, like 9 hours a day. They just sit in front of a camera doing whatever. Or the OnlyFans people, like they spend 4 hours editing their videos, and they have to go do a photo shoot, and they have to get they edit it themselves, or they get editors to do it. They have to coordinate. Like it's a lot of work, and people don't think about it until they start Googling how hard is it to be on OnlyFans.
And some people don't even make it that far, and I think that's the deeper issue with sex work in general, with sex work and with content creation, but especially if you combine the two,
right?
Because there are layers to people not seeing legitimacy in A, sex work, and then B, content creation. People think that influencers get paid money to do nothing, to look cute, to do this, that, and the other. And, some of that is true to a degree. There are influencers and people who, do next to nothing and they blow up. Yeah. That is the nature of life.
But that's the 1 in a million case, right? Like,
But there are also, those of us who are spending hours and hours editing, who aren't realistically getting paid, what you would get paid doing a 9 to 5, but it's stuff that we enjoy. It's stuff that we love. It's stuff that we believe in.
Mm-hmm.
And with sex work, people already don't give a shit about sex workers.
There's already that stigma, right? That comes.
Yeah. And so that's another reason why it's important to have boundaries with your content creation, especially when you're doing like custom content creation. One of the things that I saw very early on in OnlyFans were people who were wanting custom work, but they were wanting stuff churned out immediately.
Yeah.
And recently I had someone ask me for a custom image set. And I was like, okay, cool. I have, a custom sheet. I have all my information.
Right.
I had announced that I was now doing a 3-week turnaround time for all customs. And before that, I was doing like a week. And I was just like, I need to be better than myself.
Yeah, for sure. A week's insane.
Tell me about it.
You're a nut.
Tell me about it. So I was like, here, I'm doing a 3-week turnaround time. And this person who would tip me lots, would buy customs all the time. They were like, oh, well, I didn't expect these pictures to take that long. And I was like, okay. It's a 3-week turnaround time.
Yeah.
It's not negotiable.
Yeah.
And from then on, they've been very icy with me. They've not tipped me as much. And it's one of those things where in that moment, it happens so much that you almost kind of numb yourself to it. But there are times where you see, how little people think of what you do,
right,
and what you provide. And it's a little bit disheartening, but it's also very, very, very interesting.
Well, it's one of those things, like we say, that people don't think about, right? Where, because people see, so specifically you, right? They see you from their OnlyFans page or on Twitter or wherever they find you, right? And they see you as a person in a screen. And they don't think about the idea of, you're doing all this work on the side. You have your own life. You have a husband. You have, I'm sure, some form of social life. Like, you know what I mean? So, God, I can't stop thinking about 1 week turnaround time. I have to record one podcast a week, and I fuck that up. Like, and this is easy.
I don't know what I was thinking.
I don't have to pose. I have the same light every week. Like,
I was very ambitious, but yeah, no, they're like, your sole mission is to provide pictures of your butthole to me whenever I want them.
I need butthole and I need it now. If I don't get butthole this week, I'm going to die.
And you're just like, no.
What happened to my question, what happened to the old butthole pics? Did you delete the old buttholes?
There, you act as if there's not an entire, if only you weren't paying a monthly subscription to have access to all of the beehole pictures that you wanted. Just there for you.
I can't imagine being like, oh well, I need these pictures immediately. I'm so pressed. That is, oh man. I hope I never get to that point where I'm that pressed, where I need behold this week.
Yeah.
This week or not at all.
Or not at all. It's like, all right, I guess not at all for you.
Yeah. Well, and there's and I'm sure you can speak to this. There's an anxiety to it too, right? Where because content creation is such a, and I'm sure sex work is too. It's such a I don't know how to put it. It's such a shaky ground to be on, right? Because one day you're making this amount, one day you're making nothing, and one day you can make this much stuff, one day you can't. And especially if you have any kind of mental illness, it's
Ooh.
Right? Exactly. And it's like when you're talking about moving from OnlyFans to Fansly, people don't realize it's a lot of work, and also there's a lot of anxiety because it's like, what if I don't get this same amount of thing on OnlyFans or on Fansly? Yeah. What if I can't grow as much? What if yada yada? It's a lot. So I sympathize as much as I can.
It's a lot of psyching yourself out, mm-hmm. and being the little engine that could, and just being like, I think I can. It's a lot of just putting yourself out there, mm-hmm. and trying new things, and just trying to grow. And not everybody, is conventionally attractive, or can just, or knows people who can just put them on, mm-hmm. There are people who are legitimately, doing this all themselves, mm-hmm. and they don't get the recognition or the shine that they deserve. And it is very hard as a creative sometimes, not to equate your worth to, your fan count or your follower count, or, whatever payout you get monthly. Mm-hmm. And, sometimes I have to remind myself, even now, that is not everything. And, I will be okay.
Yeah.
And I can always just stop or log off, and then come back to things. Yeah. That's something that I always have to remind myself.
Yeah. Bigger number, better person. More importantly, though, am I right? Bigger number, better person. That's a fact. That's a fact of the internet.
Fucking right.
Do you have, before we move on to the next segment, do you have any advice for anyone who's trying to get into, I guess, the cosplay scene in general, but maybe more specifically the more NSFW, the sex work end of cosplay? Maybe something you wish you had known?
Yeah. Definitely create boundaries, and do that first and foremost. Mm-hmm. Create boundaries with yourself. Know the content that you want to do, the content that you are willing to do, the content that you won't do, and just stick with that. Mm-hmm. And don't feel pressure to perform, log off, and I don't know, don't wait till the last minute to do the things that you need to do, because then you'll end up on the floor crying in the middle of craft supplies and or sex toys. So sometimes both.
I'm,
So
I'm imagining the dichotomy because when I have a panic attack, it's because it's Sunday night and the podcast has to go up tomorrow and I have to wake up for work and my editing software crashes. So I cried right here at this desk very comfortably. But then you're like in the middle of a photo shoot and you're like, oh God, none of this is fucking working.
yeah, you're like literally you're just sitting there, lights are there, you're hot as shit. You're like
makeup running down your
dressed.
face, like pasties
It's
on, and you're just like, what is happening? What am I
You're
doing?
like, what is this shit? Why am I doing this? I actually don't want to be sexy Rey Mysterio. What the fuck? So, you know.
Who would have thought Ray could have got even sexier? The filthy animal himself.
But you know, but again, that's where you can always, there's always a redo.
Yeah.
You can always, do over, nothing is finite.
Yeah. You can always take a break. I think log off is excellent advice, honestly, because especially when people are first starting, like, you're so focused on growth. You're so focused on like, I have to keep making shit. I have to keep doing stuff. So when you miss a deadline or you miss something, you're like, it's over.
Yeah.
I've lost. GG. We're done here.
And it'll be okay.
It'll be okay. Is actually dead ass. I think that's amazing advice. Somewhere some little Zoomer is trying to make a TikTok and they're losing their fucking mind.
Yeah, it's like, no, it's fine.
So, I honestly feel like I could sit here and talk all day, but unfortunately, time is finite, is a finite resource, and we are winding down here on the show. And so we're getting to our final part. It's my favorite part of the show. It's called the lightning round. It's truly my favorite part of the show. It's one of the main reasons this show exists, is because I just want to know what people's random weird opinions are on non-consequential things.
Lovely.
So, how this is going to work is I have a list of this or that questions. They're very simple things. Cats are, oh my God, we've killed Hello Kitty.
I just want to comment that I've gotten nothing done. It's okay.
Every time there's a craft episode, either it's incredibly productive or it's in no way productive.
I've got nothing done. It's okay. Eventually we'll see this.
Eventually, hey, go follow Maki Roll on Twitter at Maki Roll OFC, and then maybe you will see the finished product of.
Maybe.
Now, fuck that. Put it behind a paywall. You want to see Hello Kitty Gundam? Fuck that. Go to OnlyFans.
OnlyFans. Maybe you'll see me dressed as the hell you won't.
What a niche cosplay. I feel like to be Hello Kitty, sexy Hello Kitty Gundam is such an insanely large amount of work for a very niche cosplay. So I have the questions ready. I have 1 minute on the timer, and we're gonna get through as many questions as we can in that minute to see how close we have become to being best friends.
Okay.
If you're ready to go, I am ready to go.
I'm ready.
Okay. In 3, 2, 1, TV or movies?
Movies.
Delivery or sit down?
Delivery.
Board games or card games?
Board games.
Video games or books?
Books.
Cars or trucks?
Cars.
Buses or trains?
Bus.
Paperback or ebook?
Paperback.
Summer or winter?
Summer.
Country or city? Ooh.
City.
Ooh. Broccoli or green beans?
Green beans.
Beaches or mountains?
Beaches.
Soda or juice?
Juice.
Pepperoni or cheese pizza?
Pepperoni.
Pancakes or waffles?
Pancakes.
Ooh. Morning or night?
Night.
Baseball or volleyball?
Volleyball.
And that is the time. Awesome. There's some interesting stuff in there.
What? Some of them I panicked on.
Good. I feel like that honestly is my favorite part about it, is seeing the fear in people's eyes on some of the questions, because Things like pancakes or waffles, that's the only question that I truly care about. Unfortunately, you did get it wrong. So the interview is over.
I'm sorry. We are not best friends.
We are not best friends. I've made an entire podcast empire just to figure out if people do or do not like waffles.
Man, I feel like there's an easier way, but
if there's an easier way, I don't want to hear it.
All right, I'm not gonna knock the method.
I am gonna tabulate the score. While I do that, Maki, now is your chance. You can shout out any platforms you want people to follow you on, what you're doing on the internet, anything you got coming up.
Yeah, I am everywhere on the internet. Instagram, Maki Roll Official, Twitter, Maki Roll OFC, www.whoismakiroll.com.
Good.
And if you are interested in the Nerdlesque Festival, we're everywhere at the Nerdlesque Fest, www.nerdlesquefest.com. And if you like that sweet, that nasty, that gushy stuff, OnlyFans.com/Maki Roll Official. And then all my things come spilling down.
and then everything's fucked. And then everything is completely fucked. Oh, God. I want to thank you so much for being on the show. This has been an absolute blast. While you were doing the social thing, I forgot to actually count the score. So make sure, if you're out there in podcast land, if you're enjoying the content, make sure that you take this time to like, comment, subscribe. I know it's cliched, but it helps us greatly. And more importantly, right now, I am at the greatest amount of subscribers I ever really want, which is 69 subscribers. But
nice.
If we get 100, I get a custom URL, and then I'm going to stop. I've promised you. Hey, firm handshakes. Everyone in the audience, shake on it. If I get to 100, I will never, ever ask you to subscribe to YouTube ever again, because I hate having youtube.com/channel/ fucking 12,000 letters of binary. I just want it. I want /OldKingCake. That's all I want in my life. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6, 7, 8, 9, 10, 11, 12, 13, 14, 15, 16. 1, 2, 3, 4, 5, 6. Very professional stuff here on the show. Okay. Maki.
You did it.
Oh, God, math is so hard. ADD is so hard. I want to thank you once again for being on the show. In the lightning round, in the most important part of the show, and my favorite part of the show, you scored a grand total of 10 out of 16, which, where I'm from, that's a pass, which means we are now officially, in the eyes of the Lord Almighty, best friends.
We are.
And I've never been more excited to make a new best friend. I want to thank you so much for being on the show. Everyone, make sure you go follow her on all her social medias. Make sure, hey, if you're into Nerdlesque, you can also, I think it's at Nerdlesque Fest on Twitter, I believe. And you can find that also in Maki's bio if you're following her there as well. Make sure you go check it out. It's some very cool, fun stuff. If you're into the more sexual end of cosplay, it's a fun time. It's a ball and a half. If you want to follow me, I'm at OldKingCake literally everywhere, which has been such a disastrous journey to be on, but I have all of them. I have all of the things. Thank you for listening to the podcast or watching it on YouTube. If you're listening on any of your favorite podcast apps, make sure you like it, you rate it, maybe a 5-star review. I don't think I'm allowed to say that anymore. Maybe a review that's quite high, a positive amount of stars would be lovely. I want to thank all my best friends watching at home. I want to thank our best friends Isabel Wing for the intro to the show, Seth Feldman for the outro to our show, and that's all the time we have for this week. So remember that your mom was your best friend at one point, so give her a call, and we'll see you next week. Whew.